Hello students, this is Shelley. Today we are going to talk about Unit 9, which is Chapter 14 and 15 in your book on nutrition and the gastrointestinal system. This is just a picture of the GI tract. So it's also referred to as the alimentary canal. It starts at the mouth and ends at the anus. Changes, I'll go back to that. Starts at the mouth, goes through the throat, and the other name for the throat is your pharynx. There's salivary glands. Then from the throat it goes to the esophagus, from the esophagus to the stomach, from the stomach to the small intestine, from the small intestine to the large intestine, and then into the rectum and anus. The liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are in here as well, but they are not technically part of the tract. They are considered accessory organs that help with digestion. And the appendix, we know that doesn't necessarily have much of a purpose, but it's there, and it's on the bottom of the large intestine, the cecum area. Changes in the gastrointestinal system due to aging, decrease in ability to taste, digestion is slower, takes longer, slow peristalsis leads to constipation. Remember, peristalsis is that wave-like motion, muscular motion action that moves things through your colon, through your blood vessels. It's just a wave-like muscular motion. Chewing and swallowing becomes more difficult. The absorption of vitamins and minerals is decreased. Decrease in saliva and digestive fluids. Okay, the function of the gastrointestinal system. Ingestion is taking in food, and then once we ingest it, we have to digest it. And then I would add absorption in there, actually, between digestion, because after digestion we have absorption of minerals, vitamins and minerals, and then elimination of what we don't need, the waste products. Some of the diseases of the GI tract is diverticulitis. You can see in the top picture there's an inflammation of sacs that develop in the wall of the large intestines due to diverticulosis. So instead of the walls of the colon being smooth, they have these little bulges out, and that's why they tell people not to eat popcorn, nuts, and things like that, because they can get stuck in those little wells and cause lots of pain and problems. And then constipation, bottom picture, difficult and often painful elimination of hard, dry stool, which is a most... In the nursing home, almost everybody is on at least some kind of stool softener. Rectal issues, we have fecal impaction. That is where they get so constipated that they're impacted and it's not going to come out unless, and it can't be expelled. So nurse assistants in the past would go and just dig that out. They don't recommend that anymore, but sometimes that is what is required, and sometimes an enema will do that. And then fecal incontinence is just being incontinent of stool. And then hemorrhoids are enlarged veins in the rectum that cause itching, pain, burning, and sometimes bleeding. Ostomy care. I shared this video on my news page for Unit 9 and 10 assignments, so it just gives direction to watch the video from there. But an ostomy is a surgical creation of an opening from an area inside the body to outside. So right there, that top picture, the ostomy is the actual surgical creation of the opening. The actual hole is called a stoma. It's an opening between the colon and the abdominal wall. So that would be, and then an ileostomy is an opening between the ileum and the abdominal wall. So they're both large intestine, but different locations in the colon. So instead of them pooping out their rectum, any feces is coming out of the stoma and going into the bag, and then the bag can be emptied. Now, nurse assistants usually don't change, like I don't know if you can see in that picture on the bottom, that's like a wafer type thing that sticks around the skin. It's usually the nurse that will change that, but you guys can empty the bag or expel. Sometimes that bag will get filled with gas, and so it needs to be let out. But it has just a little clip at the bottom. Some of them are a clip like this, and some of them are almost like instead of the wafer, it's almost like a little Tupperware clip that clips around the stoma, and then you take the whole bag off. But you'll see more when you watch the video. There's lots of different sites for colostomy. The lower it is, the more solid the feces that comes out. So down there in that first one in A, that's going to be almost like a normal bowel movement. And B, it's going to be a little bit softer. And C, yeah, the farther away it is, the more loose it's going to be. And then in E, we're showing two coming out. Instead of just bringing one opening out, they brought two out. So stool may be, in a colostomy, stool may be semi-solid or liquid depending on the area of the colon involved. Ileostomy is a stool will be liquid, and this is more acidic fluid that's coming out of here, so it's more irritating to the skin around the stoma. And if somebody has an ileostomy, that usually means the entire large intestine's been removed. Diabetes means the body cannot produce or use insulin properly. Insulin is produced by the pancreas. Insulin is needed for glucose to move from blood into the cells, and the cells need glucose for energy. We have type 1 diabetes and type 2. Type 1 is where the pancreas produces little or no insulin. So these people are dependent on insulin shots because their body does not make insulin anymore. Type 2, the pancreas produces some insulin, but the body does not use it properly. Onset is slower, and it usually is later in life. Type 2 is sometimes treatable by weight loss, dieting, and exercise, where type 1 is not, because the pancreas just quits working. Treatment, type 1 is going to be insulin, diet, and exercise. Type 2 is going to be diet, exercise, and they always start with usually oral medication for type 2. If that doesn't work, then they'll go to insulin. This video I also sent to you to watch, sent the link on the news page for the 9-10 assignments. Hypoglycemia is a low blood sugar, hypo meaning low. Symptoms, hunger, trembling, weakness, and confusion. Report to the nurse immediately. A lot of residents will know if they feel like their sugar is low, if they're able to tell you. And they usually have snacks ordered. High blood sugar isn't as easy to feel. Weakness, thirst, frequent urination, and large amounts and a fruity odor to the breath. Report signs and symptoms to the nurse immediately. These are major complications from diabetes. Diabetes itself can cause a lot of problems, but if you keep it under control, this is when you avoid the problems. If somebody is not keeping their sugar where it should be and monitoring like they should, then they get these problems. If they keep it controlled by taking their sugar when they should and taking the insulin when they should, these problems are much less frequent. So that top one, the wounds in the foot that don't heal. I talked to the people that one time at the place that makes prosthesis. That's the number one reason why they make prosthesis, is people losing part of their foot or their whole foot from wounds that don't heal from diabetes. Heart disease, uncontrolled diabetes can make your arteries more likely to be clogged. Damaged blood vessels, people can go blind from not taking care of their blood sugar. or have a stroke or kidney failure. A lot of the young people that I know that are in nursing homes now on dialysis is because they had diabetes and they didn't take care of it, and now they're in kidney failure. So controlled, it's not as bad issues. If you do not take care of it and ignore it, you're going to have major organ problems. I'm going to stop right there because that's 10 minutes, and we'll start with nutrition and a new one. Thanks.